Petite little, tiny little girl with just a head full of long blonde hair.
She had just gotten weak. I said, "What's the matter with you?" I said, "You're a tumbler. You can tumble and do backflips." It progressed from that to she fainted a couple times. So I took her into the doctor the next day, and they immediately sent us to Texas Children's Hospital.
Victoria was diagnosed at the age of 11 and a half with acute lymphoblastic leukemia.
First time I met Victoria, we were doing a radiothon at a radio station in Houston, Texas. She was very full of energy and was already considered a long-term survivor of leukemia.
At the end of 2.5 years, when Victoria's treatment was over, they performed another spinal tap and a bone marrow test. She relapsed again. During this time, Victoria contracted a fungal infection, which is from a very low immune system.
I asked her what she wanted for Christmas, and she said, "I'd really just like to get out of this hospital and go see Christmas lights. Christmas lights are something my family and I go see together all the time, and I can't even leave to go see Christmas lights." And after about 10 minutes, we rolled back upstairs to her room, and we had our picture made in front of a little Christmas tree. And I said goodbye. In that picture is one of my most prized possessions, because it was taken just moments before I saw my friend for the last time.
Victoria passed away on January 21st, 2008, after a 4-year battle with leukemia, failed bone marrow transplants, and fungal infections.
Sitting at her funeral, I made up my mind that I needed to be doing this not just a couple days a year with a radiothon, that I needed to be doing this with my life.
Doc wanted to do something special in memory of Victoria.
It just occurred to me that gamers should be able to do the things they love to help sick and injured kids as well. And so Extra Life was born. 1,200 gamers showed up on October 15th in 2008. Each and every year afterwards, it continued to grow. Gamers responded by being able to game for their local hospitals. Gamers aren't that pale kid in mom and dad's basement. They're mom and dads, they're aunts and uncles.
A young child to an older adult, anyone could be involved in Extra Life.
The funds that Extra Lifers raise can go to a variety of purposes in the local area at the local hospital. It might buy an isolette for a baby that is born the size of a cell phone and has to fight for its life.
I can guarantee you that with that money, it goes directly back to these children to keep this from happening again to someone else's child.
Getting involved with Extra Life is really simple. You just have to go to the website at extra-life.org, put in a few details in there, join a team if you'd like to, or create one. After that, it's as simple as fundraising with your friends and family. Let them know why you are doing this. They should know that the money you raise is going to stay local in your community.
As a police officer, I'm in positions where I see the worst in people. Nobody ever sees a cop unless there's a problem, so, you know, we're always walking into problems or issues, and so I've kind of become a little callous, if you will.
We never thought that we would ever be in the situation that we were in. It was an accident. It was something that we never thought it could happen.
I knew nothing about Children's Specialized Hospital. I never knew about any of the pediatric care. I, too, was like many other folks who thought that children were just scaled down versions of adults. And you realize that they're not.
Hello?
Around 5:15, we had a phone call. There had been an accident and that they had called 911.
Got there and I saw a police car in front of the house.
We didn't know what to expect.
So I ran into the house and I looked, and and there was...
I couldn't walk in when I saw my daughter that way.
Our friend laying on the floor holding Ariana. The little boy, a day or two, he was 9, his father had bought him a kid's compound bow. He was getting ready to get his hunting license. The little boy picked up the bow, grabbed one of his father's target arrows, and rather than going out in the backyard and having a clear line of sight to the target, he was shooting from the garage into the backyard.
So when she ran, she came right across, and the arrow hit her right in between her eye and her nose. Missing her brainstem by, I believe the doctor said it was 1/8 of an inch, but still severing that MCA and causing her to have a major stroke. She pulled the arrow out herself, and then she just fell on the floor. We got to the hospital, and we were told that she probably wouldn't make it through the night. That was the beginning of our nightmare.
So an arrow hit you? Is that right?
Ariana hadn't read her last rites.
I got hit by a bow and arrow. I couldn't speak, I couldn't talk, I cannot walk.
They put her in a medically induced coma initially for 2 weeks. We started to lose her. So they had to let her be, and then slowly for another week until she was able to wake up. And she was able to wake up. Dr. Weiss said to us after a week, okay, no more trach. She can breathe at home. And that was scary, but she did it. There you go. The one hospital fixed her physically, but somebody had to take care of her and get her right mentally. We tell everyone that we don't know what we would be or what we would do if we didn't have Children's Specialized Hospital by us. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and things are gonna be okay. And then we met the folks from Children's Miracle Network, and it was like meeting angels. I can walk, I can talk. Right now I can talk much. She doesn't recognize there are things she can't do. And even after doing therapy, we always wondered, you know, is our little Ariana coming back? And she's definitely back. It's a beautiful day. I wanna make it stay. Shine a little light, make today alright. Just wanna make it stay. This beautiful day. This beautiful day. This beautiful day.
Eric's disability is very visual. It's you know, with prosthetic legs, and when he gets into a sled, it's even more visual because he takes his legs off and then hops in his sled. The sled hockey helps Eric in a couple ways. This is a competitive sport, and you keep score, you win, you lose. It's true hockey.
Our family was on vacation in the summer of 2000. We'd been away for the whole week up at the lake, swimming and playing. And one time when I was changing his diaper, found 2 little tiny purple dots on his bottom, which really raised my alarm. Within minutes after that, he had a little tiny pinprick rash all over his chest. The nurse who was there to intake us instantly recognized this rash, and they sent someone right away to call the medevac helicopter.
Eric's condition was changing right in front of our eyes as we were traveling, and so we understood the importance of getting him back here to Rainbow Babies and Children's as quickly as possible.
blood pressure was low, his heart wasn't working well, his capillaries or his blood vessels were leaking, so he became very edematous.
He had lesions all over him. He had lesions on his face, his hands, his legs.
4 hours later, this terrible rash, no blood pressure, and your organs literally completely shutting down.
We were able to stabilize him in terms of maintaining heart rate, keeping blood flow, but we could not stop the progression of the blood clotting.
The next week or so is just a blur of him being in the intensive care and being sedated and being on a respirator and them telling us all these medical terms of everything that was wrong and all the fears that there were and the low blood pressure and not knowing hour to hour or day to day if he would even survive.
The hardest part was the amputation.
And the surgeon came back and sat down next to me and held my hand and said, "Then we're gonna have to amputate both of Eric's legs."
And I actually, had to sign the form for them to take his legs. The good thing is that's what made him better. That once they amputated, then everything turned around.
And the next day, when Eric woke up, to see our little boy back, to see him smile and laugh and play, there was never any looking back from that point on.
Eric taking his first steps in his prosthetic legs are probably, that's the reason we work here. He went upstairs when he called them his bendy knees, and he could go up a step and bend. And, his mom had called me and said, he went up a stair.
When I see Eric now, I think he's a miracle. He really surpassed any expectations from when he first came into the hospital.
And for him to come back and to be the vibrant kid who can actually play golf a lot better than I can is really a true miracle.
And I think his determination and strength is why he's here.
Eric doesn't let anything slow him down. He wants to do everything that he can, and even the things that he can't.
I don't give up because it'll never make it better.
People ask me, how can you go back to that hospital where all those terrible things happened to you? And they don't understand what a wonderful relationship that we established with all those caregivers at Rainbow Babies and Children's. And those people really legitimately cared about our son and about us. You never know when you're gonna need a specialty hospital, and you just think you're never gonna need it. They make a real difference in lives of children and families every day.
We can't thank the Children's Miracle Network enough for their support of Rainbow Babies and Children's Hospital and all the children's hospitals across America.
Children's Miracle Network provide funds to hospitals that regular hospitals would never have access to.
What's more important than the care of children? What's more important than the care of children when they're their sickest or at their lowest point? Children's Hospital are a safety net for so many families across this country, that the Children's Miracle Network is a part of the support that, quite frankly, we need day in and day out to take care of these important kids and their wonderful families.
I like to help the hospital because they saved my life, and I want to help to save others.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cadence, our little girl, was born February 23rd, 2007. She was 5 months old when we went on a family vacation. We all got sick, very, very, very sick, and we came home from vacation, and Cadence had a really soft cry, and every time I'd lay her down, I noticed that she would kind of cry, which was not like her. I called the doctor's office, and the doctor came in, and she said, "Cadence looks great." I said, "I know, but there's something wrong." And just then, Cadence started coughing. A terrible, terrible cough. I had never heard something like that before.
I just remember getting a phone call and my wife in tears saying that we've got to go up to Primary Children's. Her heart's so large it's blocking her left lung.
She had to be admitted to the pediatric intensive care unit. She had IVs placed and had to be on medication through her IV to help her heart squeeze. She eventually had to be on a breathing machine. It was clear that her heart function was continuing to decline. She had been listed for a heart transplant, and so in order to give her a longer period of time to live while waiting for an organ, we started to investigate our ability to put in this device known as the Berlin heart. This particular device was developed in Germany. The FDA allows us to get compassionate use and experimental use for the device in individual cases.
So we got the equipment in from Berlin, Germany. The doctors flew in to help do the procedure, and Cadence was given the Berlin heart on November 7th.
It was a night and day difference. We had a daughter that was a little bit gray, was completely immobile, to a girl that was pink, full of life and full of energy. We had our daughter back.
She handled the Berlin heart really well. Probably about the second week of December, Cadence started getting sick again, and the right side of her heart was now starting to fail. I worried about it for probably a day, and then I got an overwhelming feeling, and I knew Cadence's heart was coming.
Hello?
Chantel, this is Emily.
No way.
I was jumping up and down and screaming with joy, and at the same time I was crying for the poor family that lost their child to be able to save mine.
They gave Cadence a future. They gave us hope. They gave her brothers or sister. They gave her mom and dad their only daughter.
It was truly just extremely bittersweet. One of the things that helped us cope the most was the love and caring of the people around us in our family and in our community, and even the family that we have up at Primary Children's. I swear they love my daughter as much as I do.
Miracles happen, and these children's hospitals are what they are because of the communities around them.
For our hospital to do what they need to provide the care for these patients, it does take many people giving of their time, giving of their love, and giving of their money.
When someone donates to Children's Miracle Network, they're giving these children a chance to have a future.
In sports, you always have the naysayers out there, or people that think that you can't win a race or you can't do something else. If you work hard and you're focused and you're disciplined and you have some ability and talent, you usually will be able to persevere and get to those goals and accomplish the things that you want to in sports.
I don't think anybody predicted, not even us, being his parents, that he would have come this far in such a short amount of time. He's running at a national level in track and field. He's one of the best runners in the state. He's one of the top baseball players in the area, which that was one sport we didn't ever think he would play again. Sports was his dream, and we saw all of his dreams be taken away from him.
Well, the first thing I heard was that they were bringing a 10-year-old in who had been hit in the head with a golf ball.
I ran to the golf course and picked him up. As we started getting to the hospital, I sort of felt a little bit of panic. I got him out of the car, kind of rushed to the emergency room a little bit, and noticed that he was dragging his leg.
He was unable to move his right leg, right arm, and weakened the right side of his face. He also had a seizure, and I was amazed to see that there wasn't really any skull fracture at all, that an area about 1 inch to a ½ inch deep in the brain on the left side showed a small hemorrhage, maybe thumb-size hemorrhage.
It was just a horrible, helpless feeling because I couldn't do anything and I didn't know what was going on.
I was also very concerned that if you go in to remove a clot, you'll do more damage getting down to the clot.
And then I started to think, was my child going to live? And when that started to set in, that was the scariest part.
In this case, it was better to let nature heal itself.
With the injuries that I saw initially, I would expect him to have significant motor handicaps and maybe some speech handicaps that preclude him from really playing any major sport activities.
Arden's a Canadian national champion in the pole vault. I played professional baseball. Arden's father played in the NHL. Her brother played on the Canadian national team for rugby.
He grew up seeing all of us compete and all of us accomplishing our goals and our dreams. And I don't think he knows a world of not accomplishing your goals. He transferred that into his therapy. So if he didn't do the exercise that he wanted to properly, then he'd come home and try it some more.
Throughout therapy, even when he got frustrated, he was just a really, really hard worker. He would do whatever we asked him to do, which is not always the case in pediatrics. It's frustrating, it's hard work, it hurts, and he really never said no, said I don't want to, this is too hard.
And then he'd go back and be so proud when he was able to sort of win, beat that exercise, and so then he could move on to the next one.
Miracles happen. His recovery is one of those miracles.
I love Phoenix Children's Hospital. I mean, that place was a godsend to us and our family. The staff there, the doctors, the nurses, everybody that took care of us there, they were all fantastic, and we can't thank them enough. He just recently qualified for the Junior Olympic Nationals. He ran 12 seconds better than his fastest time ever to make the finals, and I think he finished 10th overall in the nation, so we're very proud of him.
And literally 4 years ago, he couldn't smile, he couldn't move his right arm, he couldn't wiggle his right toe. Children's Miracle Network is so important for the hospitals. Everything that Children's Miracle Network has done has allowed them to help children like Nathan recover in their own environment.
I think hard work does bring good things. I mean, if you work hard and then if you get the thing that you really want, it's like more special because you know you earned it. No one gave it to you. It's all yours. You did it. There's no way no one will kick me in the last 400 meters. I just won't let it happen because I'll push myself till I drop.
When he was born, they had to airlift him to the IWK. I found out that they didn't think he was even going to make the flight. And they then identified that he probably had what's called spondyloepiphyseal dysplasia congenita. When I got to the IWK, I stayed right beside him the whole time, and you start thinking about all the little things you're going to miss. The thought of never being able to hold his hand and walk across the street, never taking him to the duck pond, never taking him the first day of school. We brought in a cake and gave all the nurses cake and brought presents every month. And I said I was going to celebrate every month that I had him.
How could this guy that was so sick have come out to be such a vital, active, bright young guy? Spencer was in the neonatal unit at the hospital when I first saw him, and they'd asked me to see him about a cleft of his palate, which had been a minor problem that they'd noticed compared to some of the problems that Spencer had.
Spencer's condition is a rather complex one. He has a congenital, he was born with a condition where his long bones aren't growing. The type of dwarfism he has is associated with some instability of his neck, that his neck can move back and forth further. The treatment for this requires a surgical intervention, and neurosurgeons are typically the prime movers in this case, and the orthopedic surgeon take bone and support the area, so you basically fuse or stiffen that upper area of the spine. You used to like stickers, didn't you? Huh? Do you want some for old time's sake? Or are you too big now?
No, sure.
Oh, okay, good.
For old time's sake.
For old time's sake, excellent.
Hey, Spencer! Hey! Cookie? Oh, did you miss class? I'm missing class. That's noise, Dad.
I treat him just like a normal friend, and he treats me like a normal one. It's really great. There's some perks to it, you know, like the elevator and stuff.
All right, so we haven't got any more.
I've got a buddy over here. He's a good friend of all of our Spencer McKay, right? Hey, Spencer. But this is what's new with Spencer. Let's show everybody at home there. That is what's new with Spencer. Look at that. Holy Hannah.
You always want to provide excellent care for children like Spencer. They've already been through so much. If you read over his history and you know what he's been through, in his case, we did have to take him to the operating room a few times to do treatment for him.
You've got neurosurgery, but then that would knock off one. We've got 6 doctor's appointments next week. So. Wow, that's a busy day.
It's a privilege for me, and it's an inspiration for me to meet these families who just can go through everything they've gone through and still be smiling and positive and happy at the end of the day. In the Maritimes, we are the regional center, and we have all the specialists here.
It hasn't always been the IWK. Initially, it was the Halifax Children's Hospital when it was first opened. And it's been the only pediatric hospital east of Montreal in Canada since forever.
Before I had a sick child, I didn't realize the importance of a hospital for kids. It doesn't hit home to you until you've actually had a child who's had to stay there. Spencer was in there for almost 2 years, and I lived in that hospital, and I became family. I became, you know, just a part of the fixture. I certainly would love to say, without a doubt, that I appreciate from my total heart the IWK and the Children's Miracle Network. This is the biggest eye-opener to me of how important these organizations are and how much they do for the families as well as the sick children.
He's very good for people in the waiting room. When they see Spencer and seeing his engagement with them and his attitude, a lot of people will come in thinking they have serious problems and say, man, I saw that guy out there and I really don't think I should be here.
Humor makes us laugh. Humor brightens us up. Humor is why we're still happy, you know? If we just sat around and thought about all the sad things and never laughed, then where do you think we would be now? Depressed.
So he has a way of disarming them and putting in perspective some of the conditions that we see.
we have a bulletin board, and I can pin some Extra Life flyers up.
Extra Life parties?
Yeah.
Some of those cost money, but some of them that are not.
The Teen Advisory Board is a board made up of both patients of the hospital and siblings of patients to the hospital.
Most of us have chronic acute illnesses ranging from cancer to Crohn's disease.
We had all these amazing teens that were so motivated and wanted to do so much for the hospital. So that's when we decided to do a Teen Advisory Board. It all kind of came together rather quickly.
The Starflower gift shop is also selling the t-shirts we designed.
We come together every month to raise money for the hospital.
He used to run track. He texted me from school, and no kid texts their parent to go to the doctor.
Christian was different. He was incredible. He is by far the biggest impact out of all of us on this board.
I'm like, what's going on? He's like, my leg is hurting, and it's swollen, and hurts really bad. Joseph had taken him to the doctor, and Joseph's like, Dr. Glover said that we need to take Chris to Scott and White tomorrow. He has an appointment at 8 o'clock in the morning. He has cancer. And I'm like, huh? What? You know, in my head, I'm like, what?
Last year, we set a goal for $18,000 for a Blanketrol and a vein viewer.
So Blanketrol is used to help cool down the NICU patients that come through to keep them on a therapeutic colder state. It helps save brain cells, just save tissue too.
And we surpassed it by over $26,000.
The first thing they raised money for was something to take care of our youngest patients. And so they're clearly not thinking of themselves.
Do y'all know what Extra Life is? Have y'all heard about Extra Life or signed up yet?
We are using Extra Life as our biggest branch of the donations that we receive.
The fact that you could play video games in order to help raise money for kids, I thought that was very interesting.
And then are you part of Extra Life?
A very modern idea. People play video games all the time, so why not play video games for a cause? It felt very right and very smart.
Sign me up. All right.
One of the things that Christian had mentioned was that he felt like the Teen Advisory Board gave him purpose.
His diagnosis was osteosarcoma, which is bone cancer, and he was 14. He was walking with a cane like 3 months out of surgery. Chris was like doing chemo. He lost his hair, he gained some weight.
Christian stayed strong. He was positive throughout the entire time, but you could see him start to kind of get more tired.
All right, tell everybody bye.
Goodbye.
And tell everybody, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you. We love you.
We all love you.
I remember him in the bed. He lost movement with his hands and stuff. And I'm like, oh, somebody donated. It popped up on your tablet. He's like, well, I gotta check it. I gotta send him a note and say thank you. So he would take his hand, and it would be until like 2 o'clock in the morning, and he would still be trying to like type the note into the tablet to say thank you. I think he knew his time was coming short. At the end of the day, the thought process was quality of life, because they placed him in hospice, gave him 6 months tops. You know, they didn't think he was even gonna graduate. He still graduated. He walked across the stage.
Christian Keelis.
He sat through his entire ceremony, which was amazing, but he was in extreme pain. Yeah. He wanted to do it, so.
One of the ways that he spent his time in the hospital was he wanted to make sure that the other children were taken care of. One Valentine's Day, he actually got a box of Valentines and, you know, made his own little cards and actually went door to door and started passing out Valentines to the other kids.
His birthday was August 17th, and then he passed away October 4th.
I remember after he passed away, how we just kind of all sat in a room for like 15 minutes and just kind of cried together.
Actually, how about if I just donate? Okay.
That works too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't think there will be anyone who will forget him at McLean Children's because he made such a strong impact.
Christian wouldn't want us to just sit here and cry over him. He would want us to keep on going.
He would have wanted us to keep tirelessly pushing forward towards our goals.
This year we want to go bigger.
This is our Extra Life page.
This year we are setting our goal to over 37,000.
And you can donate money to our page or have your own page and have people donate money to you.
As part of his ceremony, he made sure that in lieu of flowers, that everything went to Extra Life and to the Teen Advisory Board.
He would be so excited to see all of this because he wanted to be remembered, he wanted to leave a legacy, and this is one of the ways that he's been able to do that.
Whenever a family has a child with an illness, you never know where that journey's going to take you. And we always prayed for a miracle.
She was the flyer. She's the one that they would, get and throw into the air.
She was this cute, petite, tiny little girl with just a head full of long, blonde hair. She wasn't afraid of heights. In fact, she wasn't really afraid of anything.
I've got a story just like anyone else. A wise man said, this too shall pass. Oh yeah. I can walk more. I'm gonna go all the way this time. I'm flying, never coming down. Gonna reach the stars. I'm going high.
We had noticed she had just gotten weak. I said, what's the matter with you? I said, you're a tumbler. You can tumble and do backflips, without knowing. And it progressed from that to she fainted a couple of times. And we thought it was, oh, she's got a virus or whatever. So I took her into the doctor the next day, and they immediately sent us to Texas Children's Hospital.
She was just, from the moment I met her, she was about 11 years old, she just had a sort of magical presence about her, and nothing would keep that girl down.
Victoria was diagnosed at the age of 11 and a half with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. The cure rate for leukemia is the 80%. When Victoria was told that she had cancer, that's the only time we saw her cry. And Dr. Dreyer walked in and told her that 80%, 85% rate cure. So Victoria accepted that. She said she wasn't worried anymore.
In today's world, we cure, go away forever, about 80% of children. In 1965, we cured 5% of children. So the improvement is unbelievable. And Victoria actually had a particular subtype of ALL that the cure rate should have even been better than that.
Victoria's treatment was to take 2.5 years. And at the end of 2.5 years of chemo, Victoria was to be finished with her treatment.
So during that time, she had some good days, she had some bad days.
When she was sick, she still would put on her cheerleading suit and go do cheerleading. I have lots of pictures and important memories in my office, and one of the ones that I get to see every day is my beautiful picture of Victoria as an angel at our Camp Periwinkle. I'm the camp doctor. I've been the camp doctor for 20 plus years, and I took a little girl who was suffering from cystic fibrosis and cancer, and she was in Tori's cabin. But Victoria would come around, 11:30 in the morning, 12, get this little girl all ready for the day's activities for the afternoon. And she got this little girl ready to go to the dance. I will never forget that little girl at that dance. What a wonderful support Tori was, because without Tori, this little girl would never have had the camp experience that she did.
She feels great. How does my heart sound?
It's a little off. It kind of sounds like a bunny.
A bunny? Oh.
I like bunnies.
Oh, you like bunnies?
I love them. Okay, you're good.
Okay, thank you. Now I'm going to hand this over to Dr. Frickback and see what she has to say.
Well, what's your name again?
My name is Bunny McBunkbunk.
Well, Bunny McBunkbunk, today our breaking story Just met a little dog named Arfie. Let's ask Arfie how
In 2005, Texas children held their first radiothon with the Children's Miracle Network Hospital, and that's where we met Doc.
We were doing a radiothon at a radio station in Houston, Texas, and she was the kind of kid that you could hear her coming long before she got to your soundproof studio. She was very full of energy. She was just 10 or 11 years old and was already considered a long-term survivor of leukemia.
You know, here she is, lying up in bed, tubes connected to her. She didn't go and cry about it or bemoan her situation. She went around to try to visit these other kids to make them feel better. And I think that's the legacy of her.
At the end of 2.5 years, when Victoria's treatment was over, they performed another spinal tap and a bone marrow test. The Dr. Dreyer called us. I remember it was a Thursday, and she said, "I cannot believe this, but Victoria has relapsed." Because of the seriousness of her relapse, they told Victoria that her next option was to receive a bone marrow transplant.
Our community really rallied behind our family and our church. You know, we even had signs, "Pray for Victoria." So it wasn't just our family, it affected everybody.
And she made it through, and 9 months later, she relapsed again.
Joellen called me and she had just the worst news ever, and that is that Victoria's cancer had returned.
So this was 3 times she was told that she had cancer. And so we began another journey to receive a second bone marrow transplant.
Victoria at that time decided she was going to fight and entered the hospital for what would turn out to be an extremely long stay, many, many, many months. And so as a result of this extended stay, I saw that there wasn't as much for her to do as you can stay placated with as a young person.
And he asked her at that time, he said, "Victoria, do you like to play video games?" She
I like
said,
this
"I love
card
to play
too."
video games.
So I put the word out to a website that I work with. Oh, sorry.
Dang it.
Oh. Hey! He hit it in for you.
I was like, I was just trying to bump it up and he knocked me out of the way.
Yep, he knocked me out of the way.
To knock it in the goal.
He's like, no, this guy cannot get it. I want the other guy to have it. Gonna try and tap. There we go. Right in the middle. Get it, get it, get it. Oops. Actually, that was really high. Oh my god. Come on. I want to be the flicker again. Where am I?
I'd be closer to the goal, bud.
I don't have to be close to flick. Hey, there we go. Flicked it. Flicked it again. Yeah, let's flick around. There you go. Get it, Rogue!
No!
Oh, you missed.
Fuck.
Rogue, that's not what I asked you to do. Damn it. Mine.
So, when do you think you'll be back, Gary?
I mean, when... Oh. I know.
The one that's got a son that's going to football.
Ooh. Get out of our area.
$4:30. 4:30. Yeah.
God damn it!
Welcome back, Gary.
But that's still 4:30. Because 12 plus. Okay. We'll have to get some Forza Horizon, and hopefully we can get Bongo and everyone else playing as well. That'd be kind of cool.
Hopefully I can actually get in. Oop.
Good.
Whoops.
I haven't actually played Forza
that
with anyone
caravan?
yet.
Ah, shit.
Dang it.
Oh shit! Missed.
Uh-oh.
Fuck. My bad.
No, mine.
Completely missed that. Yeah, well, I was right under it.
Yep. I mean, it was mine because I should have stayed back.
Classic car abandoned in a barn near here and then hung up. Weird, right? Does this kind of thing happen often at Horizon?
Ah, damn it. Oh, I just saw you there too.
I've got a strange urge to make myself a radio-controlled hovercraft. Might have to do that this
Got
winter.
it.
There you go.
Nice little winter project.
Do you like the mid-air psych out going on here?
Is that what it was, right?
Yeah. I psyched myself out.
How was I MVP?
Because you're amazing. Wow, God, I got a lot of points.
Not
for
amazing.
that. I got 9 candy corn. Alright, back out.
Well, you can start the other game from in there.
I didn't mind that
Wait,
candy
what?
corn that I tried.
Yeah.
Apart from the fact
They
it
can
was
start
stupidly
comp
expensive.
from in there?
Yeah.
No. Well, yeah, you could.